Hi, I'm Dave Klein, and this is the Simulate Cybersecurity Newscast. A bit of drama occurred this week, Monday and Tuesday, and let's talk about it. So, about 4 weeks ago, we talked about Evil Corporation. Evil Corporation is the oldest ransomware gang. Its owners that we had talked about were flashy, spent a lot of money. You had the founder, Maxim Yakubits, who got married in a $250,000 ceremony and was covered by the Russian equivalent of People magazine. How he also likes to drive fast and flashy cars, multi-million-dollar cars and things like that. And anyway, we had talked about them and a new group, not a relatively new group, called Lockbit. So ransomware as a service is what they do. And that what was noticed by the FBI, by Trend Micro in some research, and also by Mandiant Corporation, was that the techniques, tactics, and procedures, or TTPs as we call in this industry, were very similar, if not identical, to Lockbit, right? And looking at their campaigns. And so things like putting the machines in the safe mode to avoid detection when they were infecting and encrypting, using double extortion and auctioning off the data, having special techniques they use with Windows and Linux machines and ESXi to corrupt VMs, as well as their use of ransomware as a service, especially around reconnaissance. It seemed like these groups were either working together, were the same group, or it was a case of the Evil Corporation buying Lockbit's software and services to do damage that way. And so it was quite an interesting situation. Well, fast forward to this Monday and Tuesday, the Lockbit gang announced that they had attacked successfully Mandiant Corporation directly, and that they had something in the equivalent of I forgot it was 500,000 files for Mandiant or something like that. And on their darknet site, on their blog site, they put a countdown timer to these files that people would be able to download and see a .zip file, basically a .7 zip file, and to see all this stuff. Well, when that time came, finally, what it was is simply a note from the Lockbit ransomware gang saying, we're not Evil Corporation, we're not lavish like that, we're not tied to the Russian government, we're not part of the SVC, which is the Russian modern equivalent of the KGB, or, which is kind of funny, the FBI. I don't know why they would mention the FBI, but they said the FBI. And that they don't live lavish lifestyles, they don't have a lot of money, and that kind of stuff. The other three files were from their message board services where they talked to their victims, and they basically were stories with each one about getting about 0.5 Bitcoins, which they felt was under that of Evil Corporation. And in fact, one of the statements says Yakubets power, kind of sarcastically. And the second one said Evil Corp Nahui. Now, knowing Russian, Nahui means F off. So it was basically a whole PR stunt by Lockbit to say, hey, we're not Evil Corporation. What's my take on this? My best guess is that Evil Corp is working with Lockbit, and for the following reasons. The U.S. Treasury now has rulings that will fine you if you pay Evil Corp. So the idea is Office of Foreign Assets and Control is an organization with the U.S. Treasury, and because the Evil Corp has taken over $150 million in their exploits, they've been added to a list that if you pay them the ransom, you will be fined and prosecuted. So my guess is, yes, they're using Lockbit either as a partnership or they're buying their services to continue their projects, because if they did it the other way, people would know for sure that it was them. Really interesting story. The city of Palermo, Italy, suffered a ransomware attack today, and it did quite some damage. Basically, the city of about 1.5 million people who host annually about 2.5 million tourists, especially right now, this is the busy season, announced that they were shutting things down because of a DDoS attack. However, most people who know about this story and the way that they're describing the shutdown, it really looks like it's more like ransomware. What was affected was kind of shocking. You had everything from police, closed-circuit TV, and security cameras. The downtown area is ancient and can only handle so many cars a day, so there's a whole traffic management system. Certain license plates can go into town and park on certain days versus not. That was all shut down, right? All the municipal services weren't able to be reached, any kind of payment system. And then on top of that, with tourism being so important for southern Italy, all the ability to buy tickets and make registrations to museums and other venues were stopped. They couldn't be able to do that. So it really is a situation here, and that is quite frustrating. And you think about it, if you're a city/municipality today, at this point, you really need to be at a place where you're being proactive, where you've gone out there, you've assessed your level of risk, you've found your critical crown jewels and have isolated them, segmented them, secured them even more. And then really most importantly, this is the time to do testing, to test actively against threats, and then also practice your incident response plans. Have contingencies that would prevent these really critical systems from being taken down in the first place, and if they are, contingencies on how you move forward without them. More on the vulnerability that Microsoft has that's quite dangerous, that's in the wild currently, the one around the diagnostic toolkit that's in every version of Windows software that is RCE capable, that has minimal end user interactions. Basically, you can enable this attack even without opening a malicious document that it's attached to. You simply have it in File Explorer. If you click on it, and if the preview mode is enabled, it'll launch that attack. Also, when you open the document, it doesn't prompt a user to deploy like a lot of the other macros do. On top of that, it gets around Microsoft SafeView, so it can deploy even if SafeView is enabled. The big news is it's been in the wild with exploits for over 7 weeks. So it means that people have taken advantage of this and exploited it for over 7 weeks. And the new news is that Simulate, my company, back on June 1st, came up with an immediate threats intelligence kit to help our customers test to see if they were vulnerable to these types of attacks, and basically to help them shore up their defenses. And then the next day on June 2nd, we came out with a full purple teaming kit, including a safe payload that you could run in production mode safely and test your resilience, and again, shore up your defenses as well. I'll put a link in the notes section of the video to the blog post that really gives you a lot of good details on the vulnerabilities and how they're exploited, the different types of ways it's exploited, as well as the information on the immediate threats and purple teaming capabilities that we have to help you with. I've enjoyed spending time with you. I'm Dave Klein. That's a Simulate Cybersecurity Newscast for the week. See you next week.